All right, welcome everybody to another Zoom call. We are people coming in here, so hold on. And then we'll get started. Just another reminder, if you're searching for things between Zoom calls, go to our website and look at the search bar. Always look at the member site, the homepage, where there's a big what's new sign. What's new, mentioned this last week, is the courses. All our courses are free for all of our full patients. So there's really nothing new in the Stop Fighting Cancer course for you, because I give that to you guys on the membership site. 7 phases of detox, I think it's valuable. If you have somebody that family member with Lyme, that's valuable. That course, frequency healing course, is everything you want to know about the rife. So and then we will have a couple other courses here, a mushroom course and our course on genetics that should be done actually this week. The genetics course will be up, and then we'll have an autoimmune course as well. So feel free to nerd out on some stuff there if that helps you. All right, let's jump into the questions first. Here's a question. I'll take this question off of the chat first. Can you think of any reason a person who has no thyroid and takes synthetic thyroid medication should be careful of Lugol's? So Lugol's solution is an iodine solution. Yes, anybody can overdose on iodine. You got to be careful of that. But if you have no thyroid, because the thyroid is removed, there still is a need for iodine. Iodine, the first thing you think of for iodine is the need for a thyroid, because it's part and parcel of how you make thyroid hormone is iodine. But still, there's other needs in the body for iodine, and they can certainly take Lugol's or other iodine supplement. And what's the right way to use the rife for neuropathy, specifically using the mat, or how often, etc.? So I think there are some neuropathy bulb programs, and you could use that. But really, the best way to use rife for neuropathy is running the detoxification programs on the foot bath. The clear detox programs on the foot bath are much more appropriate for neuropathy, especially if it's chemotherapy induced neuropathy. So chemotherapy is a hard chemical, damages the neurons, especially the peripheral neurons. And that's what neuropathy is. So using the Ion Pro Wave in the clear detox program is the best thing for neuropathy as far as use with the rife. We also have some other tools for neuropathy. One is the Rebuilder. The Rebuilder is an FDA approved neuropathy machine. So it stimulates the nerves at their specific frequency using an electrical frequency device, and it can be good for neuropathy and helping rebuild the nerves. It works quite well too. That's on our store if you're interested. All right. I have bone metastasis from my breast cancer. Is there a way to gauge the health of my bones on your end, meaning from a natural perspective? I have traditional bone scans, but it's difficult to determine if it's scar tissue or it's lesions. Overall, I feel good, and I would love to run again, but whenever I bring this up to my oncologist, she strongly urges me to reconsider. So I don't. I don't want to live in fear, but I also don't want to be stranded on a path with a broken leg or hip. Any thoughts? So with the deal with bone metastasis and cancer, even if you don't have bone metastasis and cancer, you do have to be careful of exercises that are going to be pounding on your bones, that are going to be hard on your bones, your joints. You just have to be careful of that, even if you have no history of bony metastasis. with a history of bony metastasis, I would fall on the side of your oncologist there, because you just don't know if there's any weakness. There's no way to tell if there's any weakness in certain joints. And certainly the femoral neck, which is the little angle of the femur that as it attaches to the acetabulum of the pelvic joint, is a very that's where people get their hips replaced. That's what they're getting replaced, that whole joint there. That you do not want to have a femoral neck fracture. Now, even if the cancer was in your ribs, you still have to just be conscious of that. Now, there's ways to you can go running without actually running. You could go race walking where you're kind of more on a shuffle. Race walking is actually much better for your body, and you're getting a cross crawl mechanism going. You could take up biking or something else, but I would agree that you don't want pounding exercise that's going to be pounding on your bones, especially as you age. That's just hard on your bones, even if you don't have cancer at all. Secondly, the first part of this question was is there any way to gauge the health of the bones without doing a CT scan or a bone scan or a DEXA scan, which measures osteoporosis and bone density? No, there really isn't any way from a national perspective. There isn't any necessarily blood tests or anything to measure that other than doing a scan. Apologize for that. Wondering about updates for frequencies. Do we do this, and how often? So there's value in updating your frequencies from TrueRife on a fairly regular basis if you're running other programs on the Rife other than your program. So if you're the kind of person that's like, all I run is the programs that Dr. Connors made for me, well, then there is never a reason to update the frequencies on your Rife. Never. So, but if you're the kind of person that is like, oh my gosh, I run the other frequencies all the time. If I have another issue or somebody in the family has got an issue, they're running other programs on the Rife all the time. Well, then there's value in updating the frequencies. I wouldn't do it more than once every month or two. Realistically, if you don't run that many, programs other than your programs, maybe every 3 to 6 months, because Mike at TrueRife isn't updating them, that frequently. So if you do update the frequencies on your Rife, you have to go to our website and you can click, go right there and click on that and type in the search updating frequencies, and we give you a tutorial on how to do that. It's quite simple. All you do is got to connect your computer to your Wi-Fi in your house. You got to get it connected to internet, and then all you do is on the Rife, go up in the right-hand side, open up any Rife program, go up on the right-hand side, it says update frequencies, click on that, it'll start downloading an update. So, but prior, so like I update my frequencies about every 3 to 6 months at our house, but we have some patients that never have ever updated their frequencies in 5 years because they don't run any other programs. So then there's really no need to. Always, if you're going to do the update, make sure you put your computer back on airplane mode so that you take it off of Wi-Fi again. So that's the number one computer problem, is having your computer connected to the internet, because it'll try to download a bazillion things that you don't want. Recently, you discussed that via your protocols or other methods, tumor growth can be stopped and therefore no longer fits the definition of cancer. You also mentioned that unless there's a pressing medical reason, a person can often just live with no longer cancerous tumor. I was wondering if you could address how, once the tumor no longer fits the definition of cancer, one can still reduce the size of the tumor or completely eliminate the tumor through non-surgical methods. Any particular successful case studies, that is colon cancer, that you are at liberty to discuss would be helpful too. So yes, I said that if a cancer stops growing, so let's say you have a mass in your colon, it's 3 centimeters round, let's say, And then 3 months later, it's 4.5 centimeters round, and let's say you start chemotherapy, and then you measure it again 3 months later, and it's 4.5 centimeters round. Well, 3 months it didn't grow at all. That's a good thing, right? And you do chemo, and you're still doing chemo, let's say, and you're doing natural care too, and 3 months later, it's still 4.5 centimeters. And then they're saying, well, it's stabilized. Typically, this is what they'd say, and depending on where the cancer is, it's stabilized. Now it's time to do surgery and remove this tumor. The question is there any way to remove the tumor somehow, dissipate the tumor without doing surgery? Well, you're trying to do those things. You're using right frequencies to get your immune system to kill it and to destroy it. Problem is sometimes your body walls it off with the fibrous, sheath so that you can't get at it at all. That's very common in lung cancers, and it's common in breast cancers as well. It's common in brain cancers too. So it's there's nothing you can do but surgical removal if you do want to have it removed. And it's time that's when it can be appropriate, if the surgeon has confidence that they can go in there and basically get it all or most of it without having to dissect the tumor itself and break it up and, cause possible spread by doing that. That's the time to do surgery. So I don't have any success stories of, I can't think of anything off the top of my head of any anecdotal stories of the person, was pressed to do surgery and then did some natural approach and the tumor shrunk. We've had plenty of patients where the tumor did shrink and was gone and wasn't able to be found afterwards. But that wasn't how the question started, is that if it gets to the point where it's no longer the definition of cancer, and it's because it's not growing, it's staying at that same size for X period of months, therefore it's not continuing to rapidly replicate. Is there a way to diminish the size? Well, in truth, if the patient is our patient, we're doing everything we possibly can from a natural perspective to diminish the size. We're not trying to just stop it from growing. We're trying to get rid of this thing. But if the final solution is that it just stops growing, all my comment is, hey, if that's good enough, if it's not blocking the lumen of your colon, or if it's not, blocking or pressing on, your bile duct or an artery or something, you better sometimes just letting, sleeping giants lie. But if there is a need for removal, it's blocking a percentage of the lumen of the colon, or it's putting pressure on an artery and the person's having fainting spells or something, then surgery is probably the best option. Looking at the Gerson diet for recipes, and they promote only using flax oil and not coconut oil. Do you have any thoughts on this? Well, there's nothing wrong with cold pressed flax oil, but I don't think there's anything wrong with coconut oil. So remember, all of the Gerson diet and all of Gerson stuff, my biggest pet peeve about that is that Max Gerson put this together in the 1930s and the 1940s, when a lot of other things weren't even available. Coconut oil was not readily available in the continental United States at that time. So he didn't speak about coconut oil really at all. He had a lot of different thoughts about different nutrients that, if I'm convinced, if he was alive today, he would have changed his tune on a lot of things, because more information came out, more studies came out. Remember, at that time, there was literally almost no studies on nutritional and nutraceutical. Everything was anecdotal and shared in a more difficult way. There was no internet, of course. So if he was alive today, I'm convinced he would make a lot of different changes to his protocol. So I don't think there's anything wrong with using coconut oil. Still struggling, especially at night, with a cough from the aspergillus in the right lung. I've nebulized, there's used a tincture, different essential oils used, applied to the feet, chest, and diffused. Any other suggestions? Well, the best way to kill something in your lung when it's a fungus in your lung, like aspergillus, is through a nebulizer. Trying different substances in the nebulizer would be my choice. I would try different antifungal type nutrients that are liquid that I'd put in the nebulizer using different concentrations and playing with that. I still think nebulizing is going to be the best way to get that out of there. I will say that if I'm pretty sure this person is doing this, but cordyceps is a mushroom that is really essential for healing the lungs. Make sure you up the cordyceps. If you're taking cordyceps, make sure you bump that up as well. I think we have cordyceps mixed with some other herbs in a liquid that you could nebulize that. Now that I think of it, that might be a good choice too. I think it's a herbal throat or herbal dropper, lung dropper by Host Defense that has cordyceps in it. I would try that. That's what I would give that a try as well. Questions from the chat. The elbow adapter on the power cord for the Connors Clinic computer is loose and the power connection disconnects daily. I do not move my computer, kind of frustrated. So it's the power cord itself. Please just give the clinic a call, and I'm pretty sure we have some extra power cords that we can send you and see if there's something with that. I don't know what the elbow connector is, but it might be just something loose, or is it the one that connects right into the computer and it's loose? That's frustrating. Maybe a new one would fit better. So yes, maybe a new one would fit better. We can certainly send you on another one. Using oximeter by blood oxygenation is sometimes 98 to 99, a few hours later 95 to 96. What is the reason? The little oximeters are not the most accurate in the world, and most likely it's just its connection to your hand. If you're over 90, 93, 94, you're doing great. Where your concern is if you're regularly down in the 80s. Your numbers are just fine. Dairy is a cancer driver for me, but ghee is okay in my binder. Am I overthinking this? Is this okay to use? Yes, I'd say that's okay to use. Plus, how much ghee are you consuming? You can't consume very much ghee unless you really had to make an effort to, so you're just fine with ghee. What types of mushrooms are in the Miracle Mushroom Mix? That's our blend. Off the top of my head, we have reishi, we have cordyceps, I'm pretty sure. We have maitake, then there's, we call it the Miracle Mushroom Mix, but there's moringa, there's some other immune stimulants in there too. I have to look. It's on the store site, the list of product things that are in that. There are a lot of organic foods where all the ingredients are good, except it has sunflower or safflower oil in it. These are not on my approved oil list. Are they that bad, or should all products with sunflower or safflower oil be avoided? Well, there's an argument with that. Most sunflower and safflower oils that you buy, let's say if you just bought a Crisco sunflower oil, it is not a good oil to be using. So if you're using something in cooking, you should only be using olive oil or coconut oil. Sunflower oil, safflower oil, and corn oil is just not a good oil to be using whatsoever. However, in some organic products, there is organic cold pressed sunflower oil and organic cold pressed safflower oil. Those are not necessarily bad oils. They're not necessarily something you should avoid. They can be a good organic cold pressed sunflower or safflower oil can actually be a parent oil. So if it's just in a product they're using and it's organic, I would not say you have to worry about staying away from that. Can you repeat slide number 1 about the thyroid? When we were talking about the question about the thyroid gland. Somebody asked a question on the chat about can somebody with no thyroid that takes synthetic Synthroid, should they be careful about Lugol's, which is an iodine? And I said, no, they could certainly still take iodine. There's other needs for iodine. Don't share your question that you're asking about the thyroid. I don't think I had any other thyroid question here. So if you can think of what you're asking, post it here. I'm doing sauna, castor oil pack, daily coffee enemas. Is there still a value in doing colonics? My answer to that is only occasionally. So the value in doing colonics, so a colonic is you putting it to farther up your colon to flush it out. I see the value in doing colonics if a person has very bad, very bad constipation that can't get released. That's where a colonic is in. You have to be careful with colonics because you can flush out your microbiota with colonics. So I'm not a fan of doing regular colonics for that purpose. You're already doing sauna, castor oil pack, daily coffee enemas. I'd say no to the colonics unless you have serious constipation issues. Are you familiar with the Taheebo Tea Pure Palo Arco tea? Not particularly that product, but I am very familiar with Palo Arco. It can be a great cancer killer. It can be a good Lyme disease killer. Palo Arco is a good product, and I don't see anything wrong with using it as a tea. If you're using it as a tea, or even as a nutritional supplement, there's nothing wrong with using Palo Arco. So, Christine, did you get your thyroid question back? Is this the slide you wanted me to go over bony metastasis? Oh, emailed it. I'll have to call you on that because I did not get your email. Sorry. Or I didn't look at the email unless you just emailed. Sorry, I missed it. Should I use the gray mat with the regular right wand and the neuropathy setting? So the mat is, so you should use the Ion Pro Wave. So you're doing the Ion Pro Wave, not the regular right wand, not the bulb. So this person's talking about neuropathy again. So if you have neuropathy, you want to run the Ion Pro Wave program. That's the foot bath program. And yes, you do use the grounding mat with the Ion Pro Wave. So go back to your Ion Pro Wave instructions. And if you've not used the Ion Pro Wave, or if you're not used to it, then remember, go back to use the membership site. Remember, I added about 25 videos on the membership site under the Rife. So if you're having any Rife issues at all, go to the membership site and look at the Rife tab. Let's see if I can find your email here real quick. Okay. Clinic. see it there either. I don't see your email anywhere. Cool. If you can send that again, I'll get back to you on that personally. All right, this is gonna be a short Zoom if you guys don't come up with some more questions. Maybe you emailed that to Anne, Christina, I don't see it at all. Sorry, Ed, I have not done any other research on the TCMAF stuff. I apologize, I've been working on a number of other videos and things, so I will get at that, so. Have you heard of high dose melatonin for cancer, like 210 milligrams? Yes, and I do write about that in the Stop Fighting Cancer book. It can be beneficial. So yes, it's you don't necessarily have to, most of the writings don't say to necessarily go up to 210 milligrams. It's anywhere between 60 milligrams and maybe 200 milligrams. But most people that are doing high dose melatonin might be doing like 80 to 100 milligrams. That's the average. We do have a 20 milligram melatonin capsule in our store. It's hard to find the high dose melatonin capsules. It's not very expensive, but it's something that some people have added. Doesn't test very well, typically in people, so we don't have a lot of people on that protocol. Can I eat organic popcorn? I'm trying to remember this person's two drivers. I'm sure you're fine with organic popcorn. It's just all about moderation. So yes. One thing everybody should understand when you're talking about diet and what's driving your cancer and what you can and can't eat, you want to keep in mind the fact that we're testing for what we think is driving your cancer. Let's say we take you off of dairy. It's the most common thing that we take people off of. So we use that as an example. So it doesn't mean that other foods don't cause inflammation, don't cause an inflammatory process. Just because you have a diagnosis of cancer doesn't mean you also don't have some sort of hidden autoimmune disease. It doesn't mean you don't also have at the same time food sensitivities and antibodies to different peptides in different foods. So you got to be aware of that too. And while I'm trying to fight this cancer and I don't want to be on a really super restrictive diet for other things too, I know, but let's say use the simplest example. Let's say you're off of dairy for your cancer, and that's a hard thing to stay off of. But let's say you have antibodies to gliadin and gluten peptides. So gliadin is the protein in gluten, and there are a number of different peptides in gluten, portions of that protein molecule that your body can create antibodies against, and now you have circulated antibodies against gluten or at the peptides of gluten. So every time you eat gluten, even though you're trying to do your best to take care of your cancer, but every time you're eating gluten, you're causing this inflammatory reaction. And this inflammatory reaction is going to dampen a more specific immune reaction to your cancer. So you do have to be cognizant of the fact that if you are doing other things that is causing ramped up systemic inflammation in your body, exposing yourself to GMO foods and exposing yourself to toxins in your environment that you could stay away from, like going out and spraying your lawn with chemicals and doing these things, you are exposing yourself to things that is ramping up inflammation from a systemic point of view to your body, that's going to hinder an immune response against a specific thing like cancer. So you're hindering your body's ability to kill cancer when you're causing inflammation from some other source that you could mitigate if you took the steps to do so. So we have patients that do a food sensitivity panel from us that are cancer patients because they understand that and they want to decrease overall systemic inflammation so their body could concentrate, or their immune system could concentrate on killing the cancer instead of going after all these things that are just going to cause problems in their body and is just causing ramped up inflammation elsewhere and doing much worse things, causing damage to different organs. If you have antibodies, self-antibodies to your thyroid gland, somebody made a comment about their thyroid. It's quite possible that a number of people on this call right now have Hashimoto's also. That means you have antibodies to your thyroid. So you should be staying away from anything that's going to cause a ramped up inflammation. So getting a Cyrex panel done, which is the best food sensitivity panel because it measures the different peptides in foods, measures whether the food is cooked, whether the food is raw. That is the most sensitive, the best panel to run a Cyrex 10, Cyrex 2 or 3X and 4 measures gluten and gluten cross-reactants, and the Cyrex 10 measures a whole bunch of other food. It's valuable panels to know so that your body's not trying to fight the war at multiple fronts and your immune system can concentrate on trying to kill the cancer instead of being disturbed by autoantibody responses. Something to think about. So the reason why that fired that in my mind is because the question about eating popcorn. So yes, you can eat organic popcorn as long as you don't have any food sensitivity to corn, which is common food sensitivity. So just because something's not driving you cancer doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you. So I'm not saying organic popcorn is bad for you, but if you had antibodies to corn, then it would be bad for you. So now you can kind of know those things. You could get some clues about that without doing a test by keeping a really strong journal that you know everything you eat and how you feel. Within a day after you ate that, you can get some clues to whether that is a sensitivity or not. But it's hard because you typically don't just eat one thing in a given day so that you're able to test that. You ate multiple different food sources and you don't know what it is that you might be reacting to. And secondly, it's hard to test that from just a dietary standpoint because you don't always know if you got ramped up systemic inflammation. You don't always get symptoms from it. You're just going to get a decreased immune response to what you want to have a healthy immune response to. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, we'll get this recording up tonight and make sure you stay on the membership site, look at updates on there, look at things that we add on there, and look at any announcements on there. What are the long-term effects of Black Salmon in patients like me? There aren't any negative long-term effects of Black Salmon. My wife did Black Salmon on her melanoma 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago this November. Yep. So. All right, how you get the free courses? All the courses are free. You log in. Remember, you just log in with the same login you used to go on the membership site. Same login you used to go on the membership site. You log into the courses and you find the courses on the main website. You'll see a button that says courses. All the courses you should be able to click in and log into. All right, bye-bye. Praying for all you guys. Love you all. See ya next week.